Hello everyone, a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of the viewers. This is your host Vaibhav. In today's session of correlation and regression, we will be taking a look on the developments in the forex, the commodity, the equity markets to see whether there are emerging opportunities which we can exploit using the analysis in which we try to find out the relative strength and weaknesses prevalent in the same class of instruments. So let us now head to the JForex 4, the newly released trading platform from the Dukascopy Bank SA. There is the Euro USD chart drawn with the candle period of 5 minutes each. I have added the Donchian channel with this candle period and the range defined using this Donchian channel of 24, which gets us the range of last 2 hours, and this Donchian channel 48 with candle period of 5 minutes each gets us the range of 4 hours. And to look at the immediate price action, I have also taken the SMA 12 and SMA 24, which gets us the average price prevalent over last 1 hour and 2 hour respectively. Now here we are seeing sharp move in the Euro USD. This is after the announcement of the monetary policy from the ECB, in which it raised the interest rates by 50 basis point, and as a result of that, we have some spike in the Euro USD. And I think this spike, the latest one, is being driven more by the Ms. Lagarde's statement that ECB is likely to continue its rate hike plan of 50 basis points for some time, and that has given some hawkish stance. This hawkish stance of the ECB has given some reasons for the traders to be bullish on the Euro USD, at least in near term. And as inflation is still running high, the ECB doesn't really have much options but to keep hiking the interest rates. And also, in accompanying statement, they said that the recession is likely to be shallow, so that gives ECB some room to maneuver, and it is likely to continue in its monetary policy tightening, at least for a foreseeable future. Now, if we look at the price trajectory of the Euro USD for last couple of days, it was consolidating in the range with lower support coming in at around 1.05. After this swing high formed at around 1.06, it was stabilizing in this narrow range, and then in Tuesday's session after the CPI, we saw this fresh break, and even after the FOMC monetary policy announcement yesterday, we didn't really see any kind of break, but this range was holding well. And now that ECB has announced a 50 basis point hike, as well as the forward guidance is of further monetary policy tightening, so that has given fresh impetus for the market participants to bet bullish on the Euro USD. And as a result of that, we are seeing these substantial gains in today's session, more than 100 basis point now, almost 1 percentage point in percentage term. Now, if we have to consider the trades going ahead, this is of course a difficult scenario to get involved right now, but we can of course go for the trade as things stabilize, and once we are sure of which instrument to trade with and which direction to expect, we can then be in a position to compare all these currency crosses against the USD. We will be comparing the Euro USD, GBP USD, AUD USD, NZD USD, and also the USD CHF, USD CAD, and USD JPY to see how the broader sentiments are against the dollar, if it is bearish or bullish, and whatever is the direction, we will also try to find out the best placed currency cross to exploit the bullish, or if the bearishness prevail, the bearish sentiments. So here the Euro USD is looking quite strong at the moment, and there is no particular reason for us to go against the trend. But now going with the trend also has its risk, as there has been substantial move after this announcement, and we have the Euro USD almost 100 points above these price levels which were prevailing prior to the release. So that makes us our job a bit difficult and also interesting at the same time. Now looking at these Euro USD's price move, the bullishness is there. Now we have to figure out if Euro USD is the best currency to go long, or if we have other choice us. Now looking at the AUD USD's price trajectory here, we have the AUD USD in substantial decline earlier in the day, and after that it seems to be stabilizing, but it is not showing gains. The gains are rather muted. If we look at its prior low, which came in at 0.6749, and its high, it is not that much. For euro, we have substantial gains, and as a result of that, if any trade has to be taken with the expectations of dollar remaining softer, the euro USD is a clear winner. But if we are expecting the euro USD to be outlier because of the monetary policy announcement, and regardless of that, if we expect the dollar to remain strong in coming hours, then of course the AUD USD is a better idea to trade with. Now, if we have to consider this price formation of the AUD USD, and if and when we have to go for a long trade, we will need some more consolidation, at least for next couple of hours. It should be able to hold above or closer to this 0.675 range, and in that scenario we can indeed take some scalping baits. And on the higher side, if we have to short the AUD USD, I think this immediate swing high, which is there around 0.6835, is going to be crucial. Unless and until there is any significant break above that level, the larger term trend remains bearish. And in today's session also, it is trading with the bearish bias. It is weaker compared to the euro USD on the rising side, and of course it is much stronger compared to the euro USD on the declining side. Now we make a comparison across all these USD crosses, and then we will be able to arrive at the firm conclusion of what kind of trade to take and in which currency to trade. Now, looking at the GBP USD's price formation, the GBP had substantially declined earlier in the day. After that, it stabilized, and after the announcement of the monetary policy by the BOE, Bank of England, it didn't really decline much, and those levels were holding, and we saw this dip towards 1.0228, but that dip was short-lived, and again here we have the GBP USD trying to climb on the higher side. So this gives us some reason to believe in the stability of the GBP USD on lower side. So if we have the GBP USD not declining much below this 0.2285 in next couple of hours, then we can of course go for some scalping trades while keeping the stop loss just little below this immediate swing low. And on the higher side, the opportunities are likely to arise as well, and we have this immediate swing high in place. So as long as price action remains below that, we have the bearishness as our medium term trend, and keeping that in mind, here watch out for the gains. And if the gains are muted, it doesn't really rise too much and stabilizes below this 1.24 range, then after a couple of hours of consolidation, we can even think about initiation of the fresh short sale trade. Now, if we have to compare if the AUD is the strong or the GBP is the strong on the rising side, we will have to look at the timeline of the events. The AUD USD made low at 14:10 GMT, whereas for GBP USD the low came in early, and after that it has stabilized. Now if we look at the high, 4 hourly high, it is almost around the same, but the magnitude is better for the GBP USD. So on that count, we have to place the GBP USD ahead of the AUD USD in its rising potential against the dollar. So we have the Euro USD with the highest momentum on the upside, followed by the GBP, and then followed by the AUD. So you can invert the scale and say that AUD USD is most bearish, then comes the GBP, and then comes Euro. Let's consider the NZD now, NZD USD. Now for NZD USD, we have this situation where the NZD also made the low at around the same time as AUD, but if we compare its gains to the AUD, it is showing higher gains for the same amount of time spent after this consolidation and low formation. So here the NZD is also appearing stronger compared to the AUD, and also if we look at its timeline of this high formation, then it is also apparently on this footing compared to the GBP. So we have to place it ahead of both the AUD as well as the GBP. So for short sale, the AUD comes as the first choice, and for the long trade, Euro USD comes as the first choice in these crosses of the major currencies. Now we turn our gaze to the USD CHF. USD CHF, the CHF is also stronger and it is trading along with its European peers, the Euro and the GBP, which are showing some gains, particularly after the release of ECB's monetary policy. And it is apparently much stronger compared to the GBP. And here, if we look at the gains of the CHF against the dollar, it has increased, risen by around 60 pips from its high point earlier. Now, if we have to decide to trade in the USD CHF, here there are two approaches which we can go with. Here, if we see these levels holding for next couple of hours, and if there is not much of a substantial decline, then maybe we can think about going for a buy trade as well. But as things stand, I think it is more appropriate to continue with these bearishness and try to keep looking for short selling opportunities. And we have this immediate swing high of around 0.9304, which is going to be a crucial marker, and as long as price remains below it or closer to it, we can keep looking for short selling opportunities in the USD CHF. And here we have the USD CHF, which is apparently the second strongest. The CHF is the second strongest currency against the USD in today's session. So if you have to go for the weakening of the dollar moving forward, then CHF can also be considered, but the Euro USD is a better idea, I think. Now let's consider the USD JPY. The USD JPY was rising throughout the day. For most part of the day, we saw the USD JPY climbing up and up, and even in the release of ECB's monetary policy, the USD has been holding quite strongly against JPY, whereas in other currencies we have seen some correction, but for USD JPY, it is not really far off. If we look at the range, the USD JPY has been trading with increased range for last couple of days. So even in today's session, if we consider its move, it is substantial. The day started closer to the levels of 135.5, and from there on it rose almost 150 pips. Now some correction is ongoing, and it will be interesting to see how things shape up moving forward. But as the underlying momentum is on the bullish side, I think we can keep looking for opportunities to go long in the USD JPY. So here, this immediate swing low form is also a important marker, and as long as price is holding above or closer to 135, I think we will have some reasons to believe in the continuity of the momentum. And here, if we get some couple of hours of consolidation, and if the price remains above 136, then we do have the chance of going for the initiation of the fresh long trades with the expectation of climb back toward this prior swing high or even beyond that. So here I think we have some corrective move which is ongoing, but it is not as strong as we have for other currencies. So we have to place the USD JPY somewhere in the middle. It is not the JPY is not strongly bullish against the dollar, rather it is on the weaker side, and in that respect, it is almost in line with the AUD USD, which is also on the weaker front. And here we have these two currencies in which we can trade in the expectations of the continuity of the dollar strength. And I think there is a difficult final answer. Which one should we go for? If we should go for the AUD GPY or the AUD USD, maybe that depends on how much volatility you want in your trade. The USD JPY is of course trading with the wider range, and that gives us some reason, some edge also in trading, as we want our trades to bring in more pips. So in that case, it will be better to trade with the USD JPY. Let's consider USD CAD now. The CAD has been one of the weakest currency against the dollar, and it has been the case for last couple of days. Today is also no different. And in today's session, we are seeing the CAD to continue to depreciate, even though other major currencies have appreciated somewhat. So we have reason to believe in this weakness of the CAD, and along with the USD JPY, the CAD also can be considered for the trade to be taken in the expectation of the dollar to remain strong. And here it is apparently even on the stronger footing compared to the USD JPY. So we have reasons to believe that for next couple of hours, the price levels, this prior swing low, are going to be important. And if we don't really have any break below this prior swing low, then we do have our chances high, and we can take the bait and we can try to get involved for the new trade. So we have here the whole spectrum, with the CAD being the weakest against the dollar and euro being the strongest of all these major currencies. So if you expect the dollar to remain strong going forward, then you should watch out for the USD CAD. And if you expect the dollar to remain weaker moving ahead, bearish, slightly bearish moving ahead, then the Euro USD is the currency of the choice, as it has the strongest sentiment against the dollar. Now let's turn our gaze to the equity segment and see how things shaping up there. We now consider CFD indices. Here comes US 30. The Dow Jones Industrial Average went into a corrective phase in today's session with a decline of around 500 points from its high point. And after this yesterday's FMC announcement, we have seen the Dow decline almost 800 points. That's 2 percentage point. Now, if we have to decide on which side to trade, I think here, looking at this immediate price formation, we will have to allow some more time for the Dow Jones Industrial Average to stabilize, and only after that we can go for the initiation of the new trade. Here, looking at the current price formation, it is a difficult proposition to suggest any long trade at the moment, but at the same time it is not really a situation where we can go for the initiation of the short sale trade, as well as we have seen substantial decline already in place. So that enlarges the risk which we have to take If we were to go short at the moment, so because of that, we will have to allow it some more time, allow it to stabilize, and if it doesn't really decline much, only in that case we can go for some scalping trades. And if it continues to decline, then we will have to allow it further more time to stabilize, and only in that scenario we will have the trade. Now its momentum is clearly bearish, and we have to figure out whether this is the most bearish instrument, or if the S&P 500 or Nasdaq is trading bearish or even more bearish than the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Now the S&P 500, it is almost similar, and this prior decline was almost 2 percentage point, 1.5 percentage point, and after that we have this fresh decline after the consolidation. This high, 4 hourly high, was made at 15 GMT. Let's compare it with the Dow Jones. So Dow Jones didn't really make a fresh 4 hourly high. So we have slightly bearish stance in the Dow compared to the S&P 500. But overall trajectory for all the currency commodity, sorry, the indices, CFD indices, is bearish. All three CFD indices for the United States are trading in the bearish manner. But if we look at the magnitude of the decline was quite substantial for the Nasdaq as well, and then it made this 4 hourly swing high at 15 GMT. So on this count, it is almost in line with the S&P 500, and if we compare it to the movement of the Dow didn't really rise much, slightly more bearish tendency in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So all these three key equity indices for the United States are looking bearish for the moment, for the time being, and it is advisable to keep looking for short selling opportunities, or to simply sit on the sidelines, but not dabble into the market with the hope of profiting after going for a long trade or a buy trade. So that is a difficult proposition. The underlying momentum is bearish, and we will have to trade cautiously here. Now let's consider the developments in the European equity segment. DAX, the Germany's equity index. It is taking a little bit more time for chart loading. Let's try with the different one, FTSE 100. Alright, we got it. Now for the FTSE 100, the things are looking a bit better compared to what we have in case of the S&P 500. Here, if we look at the price action of the FTSE 100, it declined substantially in the prior hours. After that, it went for the stabilization and went on to make this fresh swing high at 7,473. After that, again, it went into a fresh decline, which has been substantial. So we have to trade carefully here, and I think for the moment, for the time being, the things are looking slightly bullish for the FTSE 100 compared to what we saw in case of the US equity indices. So here you can adopt the stance of scalping. You can look for opportunities to go for scalping trades in the FTSE 100, and it is better placed for any buy trade if you want to initiate compared to the Dow Jones Industrial Average or S&P 500 or Nasdaq for that matter. But of course, it is not strongly bullish. It is simply in a consolidation phase, and it is holding its ground after this prior decline. So keeping that in mind, we will have to place our trades with these expectation of this range remaining narrow, and then we try to profit from that prevailing range. Let's take a final look on the DX. The DX is bearish, and it is even more bearish than all the three equity indices we saw for the United States. So here, this is the most bearish of all the equity indices we have seen so far, whereas the FTSE 100 is the most bullish one in relative terms. So now you have to figure out the trading opportunities with the underlying momentum on the bearish side. And in relative terms, we have the DX being the most bearish, followed by the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And then there is not much of a difference between the the Nasdaq and S&P 500. So that's all from my side for today's session. If any of you have any query or any idea to share, do write to me in the feedback and I would be more than happy to take the discussion forward. So here I am signing off for the day and I will be back tomorrow with the further assessment of the market developments. In tomorrow's session, we will see how things have shaped up in the European session to understand the implications and the possible trading opportunities as we get started for the US session, the North American trading session. So do come back. I will be back tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Have a profitable and a fabulous day ahead. Goodbye.